beautiful friends, it's Amanda here, and today we're talking about a brand new eyeshadow palette from Persona Cosmetics. This is the Identity 2 palette. I have been eagerly awaiting the release of this palette. Persona has been sneak peeking shades for weeks, maybe even months now. The palette is finally out. This is currently available from both Persona Cosmetics and Ulta. Right now it's only available online at Ulta. Persona Cosmetics just announced that at the end of August they will have some of their products available in Ulta stores. So that's really amazing to be able to go and see things in person, swatch them. So congratulations to Sona, the owner of Persona Cosmetics. That is an amazing achievement. This palette is also a beautiful achievement. Let's not get ahead of ourselves though. First, let me give you some info. We're gonna do swatches. I also have two eye looks to do with this palette. Just felt right. It's the Identity 2, so we're gonna do two different eye looks. The Identity 2 palette is retail priced at $42 US. That is a significant price increase from the original Identity palette. This one is priced at $32, so a $10 increase. We are seeing a packaging upgrade between these two. The original Identity palette is a heavy-duty cardboard. This is a heavy-duty plastic. We are also getting a much larger mirror in the Identity 2. The original Identity palette just had a little smaller mirror set into like the cardboard packaging. This new palette has a much larger mirror and it does kind of stay standing up, so if you wanted to use this as your mirror sitting on your vanity or your desk or whatever, you could definitely do that. When we take a look inside, there are 12 shades, just like the original Identity palette. I was expecting that these eyeshadow pans would be larger or at least the same size. This is actually a slightly smaller amount of shadow compared to the original Identity. The first palette had 14.4 grams of shadow. This one has 13.8, so not a huge difference, but still less shadow for more. That throws me off a little bit. Identity 2 has 5 mattes and 7 shimmers. I'm gonna go ahead and show you the swatches of this Identity 2 palette now. As usual, I will be doing both finger and brush swatches. The swatches will be done on the inside of my arm with absolutely no primer down first, just the shadow straight onto my skin. The finger swatches will be on top, and then each corresponding brush swatch will be below. Just like I always do, I'll be using my e.l.f. flat eyeshadow brush for the brush swatches, and I will clean this brush off in between each shade using my Veramona color switch to prevent any transfer between swatches. Let's go ahead and take a look at those swatches now. For the first round of swatches, we have honest, kind, loyal, independent, passionate, and unique. For the second round of swatches, we have driven, confident, empowered, resilient, brave, and limitless. Really quickly before we move on to the tutorials, I want to show you some finger swatch comparisons between the original Identity palette and this new one, just so that you can see these shades side by side. None of these shades are exact dupes. There are some shades that are a little bit similar towards the deeper shades, so like the deep purples, reds, and browns. Those kind of start to look pretty similar. I like that these are actually sort of corresponding in a way, like a matte version and a shimmer version of a very similar shade. I do think that helps to make these two palettes great companion palettes. Now I'm going to show you two different eye looks that I created using this new Identity 2 palette, and I really approached this by sort of splitting the palette in half. Whenever it comes to a palette like this that has a lot of shades, especially a lot of colorful shades where you might feel a little overwhelmed or not sure how to pair the colors up, I recommend taking a look at the rows and the columns to see if any of them seem like they were set up purposefully to help you create looks. I do think that this palette is set up that way. The way I see it is the first half of the palette, so the first two columns, are really these more warm, more approachable, kind of daytime, everyday sort of shadows. And then the second half of the palette, the last two columns, are a little bit more intense, more of like a smoky look, more dramatic or evening. So that's how I approached this palette. I did want to do a look from each half of the palette, sort of the daytime and nighttime vibe that I got when I was kind of pairing up these shades. So let's take a look at those two eyeshadow tutorials and then I'll wrap up all my thoughts at the end. First, I'm going to prep my lids using my favorite eye base. It's the MAC Paint Pot in the shade Painterly. Then I like to set that eye base. I'm just using this really neutral matte color called Kind so that we have a nice smooth surface to work on. Next, I'm going in with the shade Passionate. This is a beautiful mid-tone orange and it's going to be the perfect transition color for my look. So I'm building that into the crease. This is quite pigmented. So I'm starting with just one light layer and then going back and building up that color just a little bit more. That way I can really control the blend and the intensity. I also added some of that to my lower lash line using a small pencil brush. Now I'm going to go in with the shade Resilient. This is a metallic bronzy brown shade, just applying that all over the lid with my fingertip. Then I am going to go back and blend the edges of that shade again with Passionate, just making sure that I have that orange peeking through in the crease area. Next, I'm going to take the shade Honest. This is a pale pinky champagne shade, and applying that to my inner corner just with my finger. You could just stop here and keep this look as a really quick and easy, all over warm bronzy type of look, but I do want to add a little bit more and take advantage of the colors in this palette. So I took Unique and applied that with my fingertip just in the center of the lid for a pop of color there. And I also decided to go into the matte dark brown called Brave and press that in along my lash line just to give a sort of faux liner look without adding too much. Then I curled my lashes and added my CoverGirl Exhibitionist mascara. That's the finished look. This is a really simple look, but with that bright yellow metallic shade, gives it just a little pop, a little dimension. And I just really, really love this look. I've worn it a few times and the shade Unique is definitely one of my favorites in the palette. Now let's get into the more evening, more sultry look, prepping my eyes the exact same way with my MAC Painterly Paint Pot and then setting that eye base with the shade Kind. This is pretty much how I set up all of my eye looks. Now for the transition shade, this time I'm going to use this mid-tone neutral brown called Loyal, building that up again right into the crease area and also using a small flat brush. I put that all along my lower lash line as well. We're going to start to really deepen this look up. I used the shade Brave and I sort of stamped that on with a large brush and then used my finger to blend it out. I just got the best blend this way. Then I went right back on top of that with the purple metallic shade called Confident, and I used my original crease brush with no additional product just to smooth out all those edges and make sure we're blending along the way. Now I'm taking Honest, again just with my finger applying that to the inner corner so I can set up for my next shade, which is this beautiful green called Driven, probably my other favorite in the palette. Again, patting that metallic shade on with my fingertip. And then I went in with a mixture of both Loyal and Brave to blend out the crease and just add a little bit of depth to that crease. Even more blending for a sultry blown out look. And lastly, I took some more of that Confident shade, the metallic purple, and put that on the outer part of my lower lash line for a really smoky lash line look. Curled my lashes and added my CoverGirl Exhibitionist mascara. That's the finished evening look. I really love how this turned out as well. It's just, again, simple, really easy to achieve. Anybody could create this look, but it looks very sultry, very sexy. This is definitely a great date night look. Now that you've seen all the looks, all the swatches, I think it's pretty apparent by now that this formula is really beautiful, really opaque, quite pigmented, but I didn't have any trouble blending it out. I didn't find the shadows were blending each other away. I felt like they really kept their intensity once they were applied to the lid, which is amazing. Not something you can really tell from just swatching. That's why I always do the finger swatches, brush swatches, and an eyeshadow tutorial so that you can see how a shadow performs across all those different applications. And just like the original Identity palette, this one really stood up formula wise. I think this is a beautiful formula. I would definitely say this is a high-end formula. When we go beyond the swatch and a shadow blends really easily actually on the lid with brushes, when a shadow keeps its color and its brightness once it's applied to the lid and doesn't turn like muddy and brown looking, that's when I really think this is a high-end formula. This is a high-performance formula. I raved about the original Identity palette. I'm gonna rave about this one. I do think it's a great formula. It's a great combination of shades. I love this as a colorful palette for somebody who wants to try color but is intimidated by it, for somebody who really loved that original Identity palette and is ready to turn up the volume just a little bit. This is a great way to do it. It is colorful, but it's also half neutral. It's very approachable, super easy to use. I think it's set up really nicely. The matte shades were chosen really well because they did make the more neutral shades the mattes. So you can just build a base up with some neutral mattes and then add whichever pop of color or colors that you want to try. It's very user-friendly. I would say this is a great beginner palette, but this is also something that somebody who really loves makeup and has tried a lot of different formulas is gonna enjoy as well. All around, great palette. The packaging update is nice. I like the more sturdy plastic cover. I am a little bit, you know, sad that there's no cool artwork or anything on the front like the original Identity palette had, but I do think this is in keeping with the aesthetic that they're going with now, which is a lot more like clean and minimal packaging. It's nice and sturdy, it's easy to keep clean. I'm not mad at it, I'm not like super in love with it, but it does the job. And I am glad that it has a bigger mirror because I actually like to use the mirrors in my palettes. Overall, super happy with this palette. You know, I love to hear what you think about things too. Are you a fan of these shades? Have you tried the Persona eyeshadow formula before? Is this one on your wish list? Are you saving up those Ulta points for it? I love to hear what you guys think about things too, so please leave a comment down below. As always, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in my next video. Bye. Literally as soon as I start filming. It's amazing. Not good amazing. It's fine. Ma'am, much larger palette. Not much larger palette. Mirror. Great. Why? Why do I do this? I mean, I honestly just... It's just gonna be loud in the background. I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do. You know, good news, I'm actually about to move. Hopefully my new neighborhood will be quieter. Fingers crossed. Everybody pray for me. I'm sorry. I'm fine. I'm fine. Like, do you hear that? It has been so loud all day here. I am so tired of it. I know that I still had videos going up, but I took a little bit of a break. I pre-filmed a bunch of stuff and went on a little vacation with my family. So if I was rusty, that's why. It was amazing. It was nice to be away for a little bit. I can't wait to not be living in a townhouse anymore. So I will have a new filming space soon. Yay! A bigger filming space, a quieter filming space. Really excited about that. Am I gonna have videos in the time that I'm moving? I don't know, we'll see. Find out. I'm just rolling with the punches. Identity dose.